At the early stage, especially of the CMC development, design the process and the test intended for high quality, complex the product, also consider cost, capacity, and also turnaround time. And always bear in mind that the product at the initial manufacturing process design stage and ensure a target process and product profile aligns with the intended quality and potency with a plausible path to the commercial suitability that can be executed at the right time. And also scenario planning around capacity, supply chain, and the quality system should begin well before the pivotal studies. And if time, getting an early proof of concept is a priority, of course, a change later could be a good strategy as long as when and how is included in the plan, as opposed to just waiting, indefinitely. And also feedback from the ongoing clinical trial from both clinician and patient should also be considered.
Gotcha. Okay. And that perhaps dovetails nicely into this next question, which is perhaps you provided a little bit of the answer, but maybe we could go a little bit deeper on, as pipelines evolve, things change, and how often should companies revisit or perhaps completely redesign their manufacturing strategy? Is that even necessary? Or, what does that timeline, what would you advise on that timeline if something does need to change?
Right. Of course, the strategy part should always be a continuous discussion, right? Rather than just a one-time decision. So reassessment is very important, and with manufacturing and testing experiences as well as clinical, data emerge. So as indication expand or demand forecast to change. The other important part is the flexibility is also critical in the rapid evolving field as cell gene therapy. So.
Great, thank you. Okay, I want to move on now to talking about scaling, tech transfer, and operational trade-offs. We have a great foundational conversation here because once a company commits to a model, the next challenge is making sure it can work and actually work in practice. So we're going to move from strategy to execution. And so Zoe, while I have you, you've spent much of your career leading tech transfer and global process implementation. What separates a smooth tech transfer from one that becomes really quite operationally disruptive?
That is something that I've done so much in my career. So obviously, patient focus is always our priority, right? And you have to have a very detailed tech transfer scope as well as a plan and alignment on the process and analytical testing in much detail as much as possible. And also comprehensive gap and risk assessment upfront, so you know where the things that could be the big impact. And never forget, you always have to have a well-designed comparability study protocol and to demonstrate product comparability, both from the scientific perspective as well as if you have a statistical model that deemed appropriate to justify that. And also have a very clear process understanding as well as a thorough documentation. Early alignment is also very important across your technical, your quality team, as well as your operational team. And never forget, you have to define a success criteria and proactively managing the risks. And also strong relationship, shared ownership, and communication and training through the transfer process. And never forget the RECEs. If you don't have the RECEs, sometimes things just get extremely confused. And also excellent scientific and engineering understanding of the process of your product and also the analytics.
Great, okay. Now, warning signs that a process might not be robust enough for multi-site execution. Any warning signs that you've seen in your career or can advise against, to ensure that that can be avoided?
I think most people probably quite echo on this one. Typically, if you have a very manual process, or you call it excessive operator dependent steps, and also you have a very higher batch-to-batch variability and frequent deviations and have to end up doing a lot of investigation, and also a very inconsistent performance across different manufacturing teams or environment. These are typically the signs that your process transfer probably didn't go very well.
Terrific. Thank you. Great advice. Omkar, so let's talk about how supply chain orchestration is one of the hardest challenges in manufacturing. So where are you seeing the biggest vulnerabilities today? Is it across logistics? Is it scheduling, raw materials, somewhere else, all of the above? What are your thoughts?
I feel the biggest vulnerability is not a single node. It's an orchestration failure at several intersections, right? A patient is scheduled, for example, but the manufacturing slot moves. If this is materials arrived at a doorstep, but a raw material is a constraint. Batch is manufactured, but the QC release is a bottleneck. So each of these gaps individually, they sound manageable, but it cascades when all of these add on, right? The risks go way higher, the stakes are way higher.